People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, folks. 1 second. I can't lie, people. It's hot, man. It's hot. These lights, I'm not gonna lie to you, these lights be messing with a guy sometimes. When it's early in the morning, so you just come out the shower and you've, been creaming up yourself. It's a madness, people. Very unprofessional of myself. But good morning, like I said. I hope you're all doing well. You had to allow me. Now, Arteta, Mikel Arteta to Arsenal. I'm sure you've got your own opinions. I've got mine. There is obviously going to be some people who are more lean towards the hipster side, thinking played under Wenger, worked under Pep Guardiola. In fact, somebody that Pep Guardiola said he's been impressed with him for years, and he used to call him for advice and things. We'll cover a lot of these sort of things. You're probably gassed off that, and you think he could be our own Pep Guardiola. For me personally, I want to be careful of these sort of things. Obviously, I hope he brings attacking football, a clear philosophy, addresses the problems, more or less puts confidence, brings them Spanish principles, them La Masia, someone that's been under Wenger and played under Pep and coached with Pep, These are the sort of things I think you're going to bring back football that is attractive to Arsenal. But I think we have to be wary because, again, I don't think he is because of the way he speaks and how he comes across. But for all we know, he could be a Spanish totally purist. He could love long balls, people. We don't know until that sounded so wrong, not a funny man thing. But he could love playing long balls and whatnot. We don't know until he's managed. Obviously, when you're spoken about so highly or people have this perception of you, it can be detached from reality. And listen, he's still learning. There's no way around it. So for me, I don't mind Arteta, same way I don't mind an experienced manager as long as they're clear in their philosophy. What I do mind or what I need is that they're supported by the board. Proper additions. I'm not saying you need to necessarily drop 50 million on a player, but we're actually scouting and scrutinising players and getting the players of the right technical level, the right competencies which we need in the team, and just simply good players. He's going to need to be supported. Arteta or whoever is going to come into this role is going to be a head coach. So head coach immediately, it's not like a manager where you're involved in everything. Let's give somebody like Arteta, who's a novice, as much as he possibly can, focus just on coaching and whatnot. And it goes beyond recruitment. He needs to be surrounded with the right staffing additions. I hope Lundberg stays. Don't know how it would affect our head of academy role, but I think Mertesacker would be good around the first team now that I've seen it personally, people. But the first thing is an article courtesy of The Athletic. And this is the only reason I'm able to bring this, people, is because you lot watch my videos. Through that, I've been able to fund this. So keep doing up the ads, keep doing up the super chat donations. It means a lot, people. But all I want for Christmas is 17k subs, so let's get that one to 17. But courtesy of The Athletic, people. I'm not going to read it all, but first bit. Mikel Arteta has informed the club, Manchester City, that he has held talks with Arsenal about succeeding Unai Emery as a permanent head coach at the Emirates Stadium. An initial discussion took place last week between Arteta and Arsenal's head of football, Raul Sanllehi. That was followed up on Sunday night when the 37-year-old spent time with the London club's managing director, Vinay Venkisham, and director of football operations, Hos Fahmy. So we did know that this was the second meeting. We did previously hear that Raul Sanllehi's had his meeting. Then there's obviously the Vinay one where the board members were seen leaving his house at 1 a.m. We're hearing either today or tomorrow. Josh Kroenke's just barely got a sign off, and then after that, he's more or less the manager. We have also heard, it will come across in this report, but we've also held talks with Patrick Vieira, how intense them discussions were, how feasible it was to see Vieira leaving Nice and coming. I don't know, people, because it seemed, for obvious reasons, we've gone more for Arteta. When looking at Vieira versus Arteta, clearly Vieira's got more experience and whatnot. And again, I don't actually know what Arteta is about and whatnot, so it sounds a bit hypocritical. But as much as I love Patrick Vieira and I think he'll do good here, and I think we need a degree of the iron fist, I do think Arteta is a better fit purely because, again, I'm not saying Arteta is going to be Pep. If Arteta comes in, he's not convincing. But I don't necessarily feel, if you're genuinely watching Patrick Vieira's side, that he is, the way they play football, his managerial style, his tactics at times, mismanagement of players. He does play young players, to be fair, but I don't think you'd be convinced that he is the right man or a good fit for Arsenal beyond being a former player. Pays me to say that about Vieira, and the way he digs out players all the time in press conferences. I think at times you need to throw your players to the wolves, but it does become a bit cringy. And the Mirror have also said, before I carry on, the Mirror have actually apologies, something on my eye. The Mirror have actually said people that influential players in the Arsenal dressing room don't want Arteta, they want Carlo Ancelotti. I wouldn't mind Carlo, you hear he's going to Everton, but he's waiting for Arsenal. Of course I would want Carlo. Equally, I'm happy with Carlo, I'm happy with Arteta. I'll support Vieira regardless of my opinion. I'll support anybody that comes into the role. But really, my support as a fan means a lot, but my support, well, individually and collectively, our fan support means a lot. But the key support that needs to come for any manager experienced or not to have success is the people above them. It's got to come from Josh Kroenke and his family. It's got to come from Vinay, Raul, and all of these guys, because managers will hit a glass ceiling, people. Again, I don't know what influential players don't want Arteta. I mean, it's nice to see the players actively have got an eye in regards to who we want as manager, but influential players, you're not playing like any influential players. Players should shut their mouth, really and truly. Whoever comes in the role, accept it, because you lot are not playing well. You lot just need to shut up, man. It could go against Arteta, obviously. He's a novice and things, and if you're very pessimistic, there might be some players who have played under higher class managers or whatnot at this moment in time. They might look at him side eyes. Equally, because of the unknown, that could be a beneficial thing, because we don't know what he's going to get. He's obviously a young coach, he's learning as well, so he might be able to sympathise with people. But like I said, the first meeting was obviously conducted with Raul Sanllehi. Arsenal wanted to sit down with Arteta after Sunday's Premier League game between the sides in London, which obviously City won 3-0. But he needed to travel back north with the champion squad and was not comfortable with the idea, which is why Vinay and Farming made their way up from the capital in an attempt to finalise matters. It was intended that Arteta would then see Josh Kroenke, son of Arsenal's owner Stan Kroenke, on Monday morning for a golden handshake, though that is yet to happen. Arteta has refused to let the process interfere with his Manchester City commitments, hence the late night and early morning activities. He was present at training on Monday and has not relayed the decision to the club. It is understood there's also serious interest from Everton, the other English club he played for, while Pep Guardiola would like one of his key staffs to stay at the Etihad. Despite Arteta keeping City abreast about the situation, the club are yet to receive an approach or enter into negotiations with Arsenal, and if that changes, they will demand an appropriate compensation fee, in which you've seen widely reported £1 million, which was always going to happen. And you compare 1 million to potentially 15 for Rodgers, or however much it costs Poch and whatnot, or to bring through Max Allegri and his coaching staff. These are going to be intensive outlays, and I do think the club didn't want to do that. And maybe mid-season, like I said in the last vid, if you're Poch, who's just come off a heavy project at Spurs, you can wait for more reputable jobs and more chances of silverware than your North London rivals. Max Allegri, I'm sure he wants to win Champions League. This club is not showing anything that they want to win, let alone win Champions League, compete in the Champions League. They say they do, but we're not playing like that. Brendan Rodgers, he might get fired from Leicester one day or next season, but why would you want to leave such a good project for this, which is Arsenal? Beyond the fact of Arsenal being a big club, English club, top six and whatnot, the carrot of potentially helping them return. When you get down, when any of these managers I've just listed probably get down to the nitty and gritty of it, and they see what's on the table, and they look at them coaching staff, the playing staff, they're not on it. They're not on it at all, people. Moving on, people. Apparently, the Manchester City delegation that travelled to Sunday's victory included Chief Executive Ferran Serrano, Chief Operating Officer Omar Barada, I cannot say his name, and Taksim Beristain, the Director of Football. You lot know me, apologies for getting these names wrong. I've butchered them, but long story short, they all travelled and spoke with their, obviously, Arsenal counterparts. But apparently none of the home executive mentioned the move for Arteta, so potentially we could be keeping quiet. And it does lead me to believe, who knew, either City or Arsenal or someone, or maybe even Arteta's camp, someone's got to leak that news that they were outside his house. Because 1 a.m. Manchester, who knew, what paper knew they were going to be lacking coming outside and going into that place? Maybe it's smart leaking from Arsenal with how we've been and looking that we're trying to put an end to the race for a manager. Maybe it's Manchester City that are a bit aggrieved with these attempts. Maybe it's Arteta's camp. Maybe it's Arsenal and Arsenal's individual camps. Or maybe it's a legit tip-off from a paper. But Arsenal versus City happened in London. major talking points was obviously a new manager, but there were several in-game talking points to be said. Who knew that at 1 a.m. people are going to be coming outside of a random mansion in Manchester? Someone's got to drop the pound. Obviously, Arsenal, Arteta obviously missed out on this role previously in 2018. Suggestions that Arteta was beaten to the Arsenal job by Emery the last time round because of a lack of lined up backroom staff are inaccurate. The recruitment panel were highly impressed and would have worked with Arteta to build a coaching team, only for Emery to edge ahead at that moment. Arsenal staff are in favour of Arteta being installed, as there is a growing feeling among figures at the club that more of their former players need to be in and around the setup as they seek to regain an identity on and off the pitch that many think has been lost. From the beginning of their search for a new coach, Arsenal have been seeking candidates whose qualities include a strong knowledge of the club, which he's played for, and the Premier League, which he's played in, a good language, which Arteta can speak, and communicational skills, being a top operator on the training ground and in the dressing room, and the ability to help players, especially their young players. It is believed Arsenal also met their former captain, Patrick Vieira, currently at French club Nice in London last week, while recently sacked Mauricio Pochettino was also another option they explored, which obviously came to nothing, people. Obviously, for whatever reason, Patrick Vieira wasn't the man. Maybe Patrick didn't want to do it. Arteta, obviously, Emery improves players, so I'm not going to diss Emery's communication skills. Clearly, it was a problem at Arsenal, but for me, what entices me is first and foremost, coaching is a big part of this role. Coaching. We need better players. We need money to spend. We've mismanaged both money and wages, so we need to spend competently and address areas. But coaching is a big part of this role. I do think Emery really failed to put his identity in the team. That all stems from a lack of a clear philosophy. And I also feel when you're looking around the Arsenal side, there's nobody that that's evidently improved under Emery. You can harp on about strings, Arsenal fans, we could say, but there's nobody if you showed them 1 year under Wenger and another year under Emery, or Emery's first year to what turned out to be his last, there is no player that's significantly improved. And if you was to show someone who didn't give a crap about football in 2 seasons, we can harp on, do you get it? Coaching is a big part. We need to improve players. There are many of these players I don't believe we can move forward with, but we have to try with certain of them. Coaching, especially the young players. Now, you look at Saka, Martinelli, Nelson, Emil, all of these attacking players, yeah, they need to get consistency. They need to play. They need belief, in which I believe Arteta can do. But especially for the attacking players, at some point it becomes about goals and assists. So if you can work with them, what areas to be in, what areas not to be in, what they're doing well in their game, what they're doing wrong, just damn right improve them. That's what we need. And also players like Pepe, because I want Pepe to do a Mohamed Salah, in my opinion, or Raheem Sterling, in that I like him. But clearly Pepe likes to be on the flanks, but he likes to get closer to his strikers. You look at Mohamed Salah under Roma at Liverpool. What's the key change beyond him playing well, people? He's not necessarily on the flanks. He remains in positions where you're going to dominate the game closer to the goal. Most top wingers or top wide players or inside forwards, that's what they are. Raheem Sterling. He's in areas where he can affect the game. Previously, a couple years ago, he was just happy to do stepovers. Do you get it? So if we can have that same logic with some of our players, especially the attacking ones, cool. Obviously, I want to see us be able to have a coordinated press and press as a team. And I want our midfield to improve in several incidences, as you lot know, defensively as well. Obviously, he needs to improve the defence. And like I was calling for under Emery, which I didn't see, I need to be seeing a greater emphasis on defending, so that it's as white and black and saying, if we bring in a centre-half, if we bring in this and that, and allow them to play with Tierney, Bellerin, Leno, we've got a stable back five. Do you get it? I don't think, maybe Emery genuinely did, but based on what I'm seeing on the football field, it doesn't look like we worked on anything for a sustained period of time, defending outnumbered, defending without the ball, defending aerial threats and things like that. That's what I want to see Arteta do. Now, people are going to get gassed off the fact that he's played under Wenger, coached by Pep, sorry. And actually, Pochettino, Pep and Wenger have all said he'll be a good manager. People are going to see these things and potentially hold him to a level he's not currently at. This is a massive job at Arsenal. There's several things to do. He's not going to change it overnight. But to have any success, he'll have my support. I'll support him until he loses my confidence, like I did with Emery. He's got to have a clear philosophy. first and foremost. A very clear philosophy. The players have to buy into what he's doing, and if any of these players don't, the board have to get rid of them, because you need to back Arteta. He's inexperienced, he's going to make mistakes, so you need to surround him with proper people, both above him and around him in terms of the staff. He needs to be helped in terms of the spine. In the same way you're conducting this search, we need to be out there from January to May. What centre half? What centre mid? Back up, right back. Do you get where I'm going? It's a coordinated effort. Coaching is a big part of this role, but people need help, people. Nobody can do this alone. If I quickly just bring up some other things. Apologies, people. Just some other notes relation to Arteta. Apologies for that, people. Let me find it. I've gone way too back. Like here, this is all Arteta speaking time ago in 2014. The fight off is getting harder and harder. I can't do it. I've had long discussions with my wife every time we've had a bad result, and consistently thinking of what we can improve, what we did wrong, what happened in the game. I turned it over in my head 1,000 times. I would love to manage a squad of players and staff. I've got it inside me. It's true, and I want to do it. I would like to prove myself and prove my ideas about managing and encouraging people to do things in the way I believe is best. My philosophy will be clear. And what did I just say, people? I need a clear philosophy from what he wants to do. My philosophy will be clear. I will have everybody 100%, 120% committed. That's the first thing. If not, you don't play for me. When it's time to work, it's time to work. When it's time to have fun, then I'm the first to do it. But that communication is vital. So, I mean, not to scapegoat certain German players, but it doesn't seem great for former teammates. And that's what I want to hear. I'm not going to get gassed, because I heard Emre saying all of this protagonist, rather win 5-4, then 4-1, 5-4, then 1-0 or some nonsense like that, only to play like a coward. So I'm not going to get gassed off comments. But listen, I've said it at the beginning, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I don't know what Arteta is, because he hasn't managed as much as we hear things, I don't know, because he hasn't managed yet. I haven't seen him manage, but that's what I like to hear. My philosophy will be clear. There's commitment levels there. That's the two things. If you're not committed, if the applications aren't there and the manager doesn't have a clear philosophy, then everything goes down the toilet. I want the football to be expressive, entertaining. I cannot have a concept of football where everything is based on the opposition. We have to dedicate the game we have to the ones taking initiative, and we have to entertain the people coming to watch us. For me, this is very much Arsene Wenger, someone from the school of Arsene Wenger, because he wants to think about what he can do. And obviously he's got the Pep Guardiola thing. So what I'm hoping is that he uses that beautiful Disney Channel sort of stuff Wenger came with, and let's capture everything that's beautiful in man, and let's do our thing with that cerebral approach from Pep Guardiola. What details or chinks in the armory can we exploit with the opposition? Because that's what we need, people. That is on Arsenal. That's on Arsenal.com, literally, people, where he spoke time ago, where he spoke about his coaching aspirations and whatnot. Moving on from that, people. Apparently, Arteta's lawyer and agent are in the capital ahead of late talks. This was all yesterday. Apparently, all parties are keen on finalising the formalities tomorrow, which would be today, people. Apparently, Guardiola first became aware of Arteta's tactical talent in 2012 before Barcelona faced Chelsea. Pep Guardiola picked up the phone to pick his brain. Impressed by Arteta's critical analysis, he made a mental note to seek his advice more often. Now, you're hearing all of these sound bites and propaganda about Arteta coming up. I would like to know some context behind this from the Daily Mail, because 2012, what relevance did Arteta have with Barcelona or Chelsea? How did Pep and him cross paths? Do you get what I'm saying? Have they always known each other? I don't know. Yeah, apparently he's going to sign a $5 million a year deal, people. Compensation $1 million to City, which is an outlay of $6 million, which is dramatically better from the double figures you was hearing about Poch, Rodgers and the rest of it. Moving on with the Arteta propaganda. While on the bench, the midfielder openly spoke about what he would do tactically at Arsenal. Wenger would have his captain close by and talk tactics with him. Many of the view that he would eventually manage the club, providing he was not playing. Arteta would regularly chime in at half time. So, boy, apparently City will release Arteta with their blessing, although Arsenal will be required to pay at least 1 million in compensation. You also can't rule out Arteta one day leaving Arsenal and going to City, people, really and truly. And also, the players speak very highly of him. This is De Bruyne. He is helping us a lot, but if he gets a good opportunity to be head coach and he thinks it's time for him to take that, I think as a club you need to let somebody go. You want to grow as a head coach, I guess. If he doesn't, it's his decision. That's actually the wrong quotes. There were some quotes he was speaking about what he does on the coaching thingy. Pep Guardiola on Arteta's impact on improving Raheem Sterling. Arteta is working many hours and days after training specifically about the last action on the pitch, that control in the last moment to make the right movement in the final 3 or 4 meters. And that's what you need. But on top of that, Arteta can have any of the ideas he wants. The players have to have that desire to improve. I think when you speak about Danny Rose under Pochettino or Raheem Sterling under Pep and Arteta and the rest of it, it can be quite unfair on these individuals. Don't get me wrong, praise the coaching staff and whatnot. For helping them, but at the same time the players had to be receptive to the information. They had to this desire to take on the information and improve, the consistency to want to improve, and they're just the ones that have improved, people. Do you get it? Nobody blames solely the coaches when players are playing poorly, so why is it always the coaches who've got the players playing well? But the players bought into it. If the players buy into it and have a hunger to improve like Sterling and the rest of them players do at City, then they will improve off their own accord. But they have to meet Arteta halfway, people. Like I said, it could be announced today if demands reach a successful conclusion. We already know about the Josh Kroenke thing. Apparently the City hierarchy and players were obsessed with his obsessive approach. Were impressed, with his obsessive approach to coaching and his work on the training ground. And obviously, he's been credited with the development of key individuals and his potential to improve young players, which is obviously going to appeal of significance to Arsenal. If we look at some of the points, people, when obviously Arsenal played City last year, Arteta noticed how Arsenal players were dropping too fast and deep, and therefore he instructed Mendy to cross, to put cutback passes into the box, which Arsenal players had left open while dropping deep. Obviously, you also Bernardo Silva scored that effort, people, and it was praised. Actually, in the away game, I believe 2014, I could be wrong, he was praised for doing similar such as well. This is Pep Guardiola. I said after a few months together, he would be a manager. He's already a manager. He behaves like a manager, so he just needs that experience. Gabriel Jesus said he's helping a lot of players. When I want to do finishing after training, I tell him and he comes and helps me. Obviously Arteta needs to be helped. He needs the best players that we can find available. He needs competent players. The system at the club to want to move forward back to being a consistent challenger for Champions League football needs to change, and not one man can move this on alone. Arteta needs to be surrounded with competent backroom staff as well, people. It might be a success, it might be a failure, but any manager who walks into this job, whether I believe they're the man or not, has my support until it's obvious that they're not the man for this role. I've seen a lot of people, especially prominent YouTubers, which I actually know a lot of them, and I'm quite upset with how they carry on with this Arteta thing. They're already bashing the guy. Like, if you don't want him, cool. But this is the thing with football fans. I didn't want Emery. Did I sit here and bash Emery the first minute he lost? Or do you get what I'm saying? That's the thing with football fans. Just to prove their own agenda, they will sit there and be ready to beat a man with a stick. There's people that genuinely now, because they don't like Arteta or don't like the prospect of Arteta or wanted Carlo, another one I wouldn't mind, would rather Arteta lose so they can say, I told you so. And I think that's idiotic. I think at the end of the day, if you're going to criticise anybody, criticise the board for bringing in someone inexperienced. How can you begrudge Arteta for, like we all do in our jobs or roles, we all want to level up. It's like a promotion at work or something. Why wouldn't you want to level up? Do you get it, people? You can't begrudge him for wanting to do that. He's leveled up. He's seen an opportunity to become a head coach and taking it. So if you've got any problems, direct the energy or channel that at the relevant parties. Don't do it at Arteta. Give the man a job. He deserves your support. He deserves all our support until he loses it. But I'm preaching and I've been here speaking about a lot of things, and I want to wrap this in the bud now, so because I need to keep it moving. So people, Deluded. Thank you for watching and rocking as usual. It means the world. Comment, subscribe, and do the rest.